Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we've got something pretty big to discuss. About 20 minutes ago, the Orioles officially fired Brandon Hyde. He is officially gone, and it's about damn time. You know the LeBron meme with LeBron after he won his first championship? It's about damn time. Brandon Hyde is officially gone. And Tony Mansolino is officially the new interim manager for the Orioles, who is our third base coach, someone who's very well respected within the organization. So I like that as the interim head coach, but not head coach, interim manager. But we'll talk about that in a second. This is a bonus episode. This is a emergency episode. The news broke about 20 minutes ago. I couldn't even believe my eyes when I read it off my phone, and I had to come here and record this episode because, again, this is a huge, huge deal. Orioles fans, and we've been waiting for this for quite a while. It kind of depends on where you were on the Brandon Hyde train. I've always been somebody that's wanted him to get fired after the playoffs last year. After how our season ended last year, I wanted him gone, but we ended up keeping him. And then obviously everything that's happened this year, the 15-28 start, and then you even look at what happened in yesterday's game, where I said in my podcast episode yesterday, I said, this is the type of game that will get your manager fired. And you take that, plus you add on the fact that we're 15-28. The leash was already not that long for Brandon Hyde, and we ended up making the move to relieve him of his duties and to officially fire Brandon Hyde. And it's a beautiful day. It really is. It's a beautiful day to be an Orioles fan. Obviously, everything's been going wrong with this team, but this is the first really big positive move that we've made, and it's firing your manager. And this move needed to be made. I've said countless times that the only way that the Orioles can move forward now with this team is to end up firing Brandon Hyde, who has been a common denominator in all of this. Obviously, he was the manager in 2023 when we won 101 games. He was the manager last year when we won 92 games. But you look at what happened in the second half of last year. You look at how bad we've done. We're, 57 and 74 since June 21st of last year. So this team has just been going on a downward spiral, and it wasn't looking to get any better at all with Brandon Hyde at manager. But he is now officially gone, and it is a good day. I'm going to go over what Mike Elias and David Rubenstein said in their statement in just a little bit. This episode's not going to obviously be too long because I just kind of wanted to come on here, record an episode, and just talk about the Brandon Hyde firing because, again, this is a huge deal. We've been waiting for this moment. It finally happened, and we can officially just move forward with the season without Brandon Hyde, and we'll see what happens next. So going over the statement that the Orioles announced today, pretty long statement that we said for Brandon Hyde. And I'm just going to read out the statement for everybody that's listening on Spotify and can't really see it on YouTube. But it says, statement from the Orioles. And again, this was like 20 minutes ago. So, I obviously wanted to come here, record this, because I've been talking about Brandon Hyde getting fired pretty much all season. I've wanted him gone since, the end of last year. It's been a disaster of a season. But we finally made the move that needed to be made to, move forward with this team. And this is the best thing that's happened for the Orioles all year, was firing their manager just because of how bad of a start this was. And obviously what happened last night in a manager firing game, 100%. I said that multiple times yesterday, that last night's game, if we didn't fire him last night, I don't know what we were doing. We ended up firing him this morning. And I really just could not be happier. So going into this statement that the Orioles put out, it's a statement from the Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles today announced that manager Brandon Hyde has been relieved of his duties. As the head of baseball operations, the poor start to our season is ultimately my responsibility, said Orioles executive vice president and general manager Mike Elias, who I hope will be next in the firing spree that's probably going to start with the Orioles, because we also fired our catching instructor and our field coordinator as well in this thing. So we fired two people from our staff, obviously Brandon Hyde being the biggest one because he is the manager, but hopefully Mike Elias is next in all of this, because we know what he's done with the roster of this team and how he's kind of built and cooperated this team. and the mess, the blunders and mishaps on his part. So we'll see what happens with that. But obviously, we're here to celebrate the Brandon Hyde firing, because this was the one that was obviously going to happen before Mike Elias. We'll see what happens at the end of the year with Mike Elias, but Brandon Hyde is officially gone. I can't even believe it. Obviously this was, to other fans and other fan bases around the league, this was very obvious just because you look at the start that we had. But the leash that this guy has had over, even going back to last year, is insane, and it's so nice to see him finally gone. So continuing on with the statement. Sorry, I kind of went off my own there, but Mike Elias said, "Part of that responsibility is pursuing difficult changes in order to set different course for the future. I want to thank Brandon Hyde for his hard work, his dedication, and passion for all these years, and for returning the team to the playoffs and winning an AL East championship." Obviously, that was back in 2023. His positive contributions to this organization and to Baltimore will remain, and we wish him and his family the very best. Brandon Hyde is someone I have come to know deeply and admire, and not only for his extensive knowledge of baseball, but also for his exceptional leadership as a manager, said Orioles control owner David Rubenstein. I am sincerely grateful for his significant accomplishments over the past 6 years, which have greatly benefited both the Orioles and the city of Baltimore. However, as it's sometimes in the case of baseball, change becomes necessary, and we believe this is one of those moments. The Orioles organization is truly appreciative of everything Brandon has contributed during his tenure, and we wish him nothing but success in whatever path he chooses next in the world of baseball. Brandon is a man of great character, and we thank him for his dedication and wish him all the best in his future endeavors. So that was kind of the statement that they made, basically initially off of that. And it was a great statement. Obviously, something that I really liked in this statement was them, David Rubenstein and Mike Elias both kind of hammering in on the fact that this is change for the future. Obviously when you fire your head coach or your manager in whatever sport, it's so that they can be gone, you can get someone else, and you can kind of just move forward with that. And it's a sign of big change, and it's a sign of change that you really want for this team's future. Obviously, Mike Elias said, it's a difficult change in order to set a different course for the future. Obviously, him talking about how he wants this team to get better in the future based on this bad start. Obviously, this firing is obviously for this team to get better. And then David Rubenstein also said, however, sometimes in the case of baseball, change becomes necessary, and we believe this is one of those moments. So obviously, this is because of his bad start. Every time you fire a manager, it's because you just want to maybe not initially get better in the current season. If you're firing, this is what I'm going to say about this. If you're firing a head coach or a manager in the middle of a season, most of the time when that happens, it's not because they want the team to somehow just, be good and, win a Super Bowl or win a World Series or win an NBA championship or something that year. It's for the future. It's for the future seasons. It's for the future of the team moving forward. When you fire someone, you're not initially thinking that they're just going to somehow turn a light switch on and you're going to end up winning, 25 games in a row and get back into a good spot of the season and then make the playoffs. That's not really, I don't think that's what David Rubenstein or Mike Elias is thinking. I don't think, obviously, firing Brandon Hyde is going to magically make us become, playoff contenders and, World Series hopefuls. But this is good for, the rest of the season to see, if the team can play with some heart, some passion, and moving forward, obviously, into the future, future seasons, just not having Brandon Hyde there. Obviously, he's been the common denominator in a lot of these, struggles. He's been the common denominator in the success that this team has had over the past couple of years, but he's also been there for the bad times. And just a change needed to be made. Just getting someone out of a building, making a subtle change, not even a subtle change, because this is a huge change. Making a change at a big position, obviously, in your, staff is a big deal. And, it can light a spark and it can do good. And I think this will do nothing but do good for this team. I think that obviously, no matter what happens the rest of the season, obviously a lot of Orioles fans are kind of just I've already kind of thrown the towel in. It's very hard to come back down 13 games. And I know this team has the talent to maybe come back. So hopefully, maybe this team can somehow go on maybe this team will go on a crazy run after firing Brandon Hyde, and maybe the team will just play with a lot more passion and stuff like that with Brandon Hyde getting fired. Maybe that was really the huge problem with this team, and all the talent's gonna get unlocked and everything, and we're gonna end up winning 20 games in a row or go on a crazy streak and then get back to above 500 and then eventually back to being playoff contenders. Maybe that'll happen this year. Maybe in a perfect world that will happen this season. Obviously that would be amazing to see, but at the same time we'll see where this team goes. We'll see if they go on a run and try and maybe salvage their season. I think they're doing this at a really good time, though, because it still does give them time to maybe possibly salvage their season, with obviously Tony Mansolino as your new interim manager. So we'll see if that changes things. I know that players love Tony Mansolino. I know that he's very well respected within the organization, so maybe him being manager will kind of just light a fire in this team to move forward. We'll see. It's going to be very exciting to see. Obviously, from here on out, we're going to start. This is the Tony Mansolino era, at least for this season. I don't know if he's going to be manager next year. I don't know if we're going to go out and hire someone new that's like not in our organization. Like, I don't know if we're going to do an out of organization hire or if we're just going to keep Tony. If we start doing good with Tony Mansolino, if Tony Mansolino is as the manager, if we start going on a crazy run, and we end up salvaging our season, obviously I think Tony Mansolino will get rehired. But if the same kind of things happen where we're just not able to win games due to the talent mixed with just kind of the mindset, then obviously I think that we'll go out and we will pick up an out of organization hire. But those are for talks after the season. He literally got fired like 25-30 minutes ago, so I'm already talking about our next manager and what's going to happen next. So obviously that's talks for later. Brandon Hyde being fired is obviously a huge deal. It's exciting. It's a big day in Baltimore. But keeping on with this statement, because they also talked a little bit more about Tony Mansolino, it said that the Orioles have also relieved Major League field coordinator and catching instructor Tim Cossins of his duties. We thank Tim for his tremendous contributions to the organizations over the years. So I don't really know what that was all about. Obviously, it's a catching instructor and field coordinator. We've had some errors. We've not really had the greatest, high IQ moments this year when it comes to this team in general, whether that's, with the bats or on the field. So, maybe they just wanted to get this guy to here too. Tim Cossins, catching instructor, is gone. Cool. At this point, when you fire people on this team, it's a good thing. And I literally would say that the only guy that I probably wouldn't want to get fired right now is Tony Mansolino, because he is a guy who I know that the players love and that the organization respects very well. And he's also a third base coach, and you usually don't see, third base coach, second. You don't really see guys like that become managers. So it kind of shows even more how much the organization and players love Tony Mansolino, is the fact that we're, making him the interim manager instead of like our bench coach, who usually when you fire a manager, your bench coach becomes your interim manager. But again, Tony Mansolino is just a guy who the team loves so much. And a little bit more about Tony Mansolino. It says third base coach Tony Mansolino will serve as interim manager. Mansolino has been the third base coach for the Orioles since 2021. He has worked in various minor league coaching capacities in Cleveland's organization from 2011 to 2020, including 4 seasons as manager with the Single-A Lake County in 2016, the High-A Lynchburg in 2017, and the Double-A Akron in 2018, and the Triple-A Columbus in 2019. The 42-year-old was also the interim third base coach for the Guardians during most of their 2020 season, while Terry Francona was away with the club with a medical condition. Bench coach Robinson Trinos will remain in the same role. So Robinson Trinos, obviously he is a former Oriole, former Astro, played in the majors for a really long time, and he is our bench coach. So, usually whenever I first read this statement, I thought that Robinson Trinos was our interim manager, but it is Tony Mansolino. Obviously, he has more managing experience than, Robinson Trinos, because this is, Robinson's first year in a baseball staff. So it makes sense that Tony is the guy. he does have manager experience with single A, double A, and triple A teams. So in the Cleveland organization. So he does have some managing experience. This is his first time actually being a manager for a major league club. So hopefully the Tony Mancelino era can be great. I really do like Tony Mancelino as a person, and like from what I've seen from him and from what I've heard from him. So hopefully, I would like for us to like rehire him if things go well. So hopefully the Tony Mancelino era can go well starting today, starting in a few hours actually, for the game that's happening today for the Orioles against the Nationals in Game 2 of that series. Hopefully we can go out there and get a win. It'll be Tony Mancelino's first win as a manager, and the Tony Mancelino era can officially start. We move forward, and the future's looking a lot brighter than what it looked like yesterday. Obviously, Brandon Hyde getting fired kind of opens the door a lot to what this team is going to end up doing, and I feel like we're a lot more free than what we were. I feel like we can, hopefully the talent can start really showing up and showing out, and we just start winning games, because at the end of the day, that's what we got to start doing, is win games, and hopefully Tony can help with that, and hopefully we can move forward with this team. Again, it's a great day to be an Orioles fan. It's an amazing decision that we made today. Thank God he's gone. I think all Orioles fans can agree with that. Obviously, he was the manager in 2023 when we won the AL East. He was the manager in 2024 last year. But there's been so much just bad things going on with this team, really for almost a year straight now, that this move was kind of inevitable. Yeah, obviously a great move, and we move forward with the Tony Mancelino era. So thank you guys so much again for watching and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. This was kind of a bonus episode, like an emergency episode that I kind of wanted to come out and record because, again, this was a huge move. This was a huge thing that ended up happening, and I had to make its own separate episode. Usually I try and only do one episode a day, like at night, and kind of recap the news for the day and also talk about the game that the Orioles played. But with a move that like this, I had to make it its own separate episode. This was the Brandon Hyde firing recap episode. So I'm still going to have an episode coming out later today talking about the Orioles game, and hopefully we can start off the Tony Mancelino era with a win, and hopefully, only positive things will start happening with this Orioles team. So again, thank you guys so much for watching and listening to this episode. I appreciate you guys so much for all of the support. Again, I'll have an episode out later today, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Y'all have a great rest of y'all's day. Make sure to subscribe on the YouTube, follow up on Spotify. Make sure to also check the link in the YouTube or the Spotify to check out the Instagram, the Twitter, all that. Make sure to follow all that, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Y'all have a great rest of y'all's day. Peace out.